Hey everyone, welcome back to my talks on intervals. Last time we talked about the whole step or the whole tone interval. This time we're going one more step above that and talking about the step and a half interval. It's most often referred to as a minor third, but I'm going to refrain from that again and talk about that more when we get to the end of the intervals and put it more in context. By way of demonstration, the step and a half is a 3-fret span on the fretboard, and that can be from any one fret on the fretboard up or down the direction of three frets. So let's say if I'm on the G string, 2nd fret, that's an A note, but it's probably not exactly an A note because I don't think I'm in standard tuning. I'm tuned a little bit lower than that. So, but I'm going to refer to it as an A note as if you're in standard tuning, just for the sake of clarity. So if I play that note and then I go up 3 frets, that is my step and a half interval. And that interval has a real prevalent usage in music, and especially in rock music and blues music and that kind of thing. We'll find that more later. But what you're getting in when you start to get into a little bit wider intervals is that you're going to get away from your dissonance and get closer to a more consonant sort of combination. And now that's not always the case, but it's going to generally be the case. What you have with the step and a half interval is you start getting into the realm of chord definition, or the notes that sort of end up defining what chords are. And in just sort of a basic discussion, chords, which just by way of demonstration, I'll just play this E major chord. And I'll play an E minor chord. And you should kind of get right away, with a sensitive ear, you can kind of hear the mood shifts. Major. When you hear the word major, you're gonna think more happy, satisfied, uplifting, bright sort of sound. With the minor, you're getting a darker, more serious, sometimes moodier sound. And that really is the basic division in chords that you'll find in most all chords. Now I know there's lots of variations of that, and you have things like diminished and augmented and altered chords, and you really get into when you get crazy down the line, you'll have some differences. But in general, chords, any chord you find is just going to be defined in either major or minor terms. Whatever extensions you have on top of that is irrelevant at this point. But the minor third, the step and a half interval, represents getting into that territory. And the relationship it has with its point of origin is really starts to get to the pivot point between what defines major and minor. So as you'll remember, when I called it a minor third, if I play this A again on the G string, and this time when I'm going to play this step and a half, but I'm going to actually play it on the next adjacent string. It's going to be the same note. And I play these together in a harmonized context. You're going to start to hear where the idea of the minor chord comes from. In our next interval, and I'll just show you by just to demonstrate, if I go up one more and I play the same origin note, you're going to feel that more majory sound from that interval, hopefully. Now, that is not always the case. You can have a minor third, and within a different context, it can add life to a major chord in some way. It's not always going to be that it's the dark, sort of sounding, serious, chord that it's associated with. But again, in general, that's where you're going to start to get that. The step and a half is really your first step in a minor chord beyond the root note, or that origin point I'm talking about. So, I know that's getting pretty philosophical, and I'm kind of meandering a bit, but just really want to drive home this point of the importance of each of these intervals, and really their role in the larger context of music theory. So, at any rate, in a harmonized context, our step and a half again sounds like this. I can play that same interval at different points, which I'll talk about a little bit more here in a moment. But that's the sound of that interval played in harmony. I'm sorry. In a melodic context where it's played one at a time, you get that sort of sound. And that step and a half applies anywhere on the fretboard. Or even down. So, that is your step and a half in a linear fashion on a single string. When you cross strings, you get a couple different shapes. And I'm going to start on this 5th fret on the low E string. And to get my step and a half going across strings to an adjacent string, I just go down 2 frets this time. So I'm at the 3rd fret of the A string. And that shape right there is the same shape you would use crossing any 2 strings or any 2 adjacent strings, except for the B and G strings. So on the A and D strings, you get the same. Same with the D and G. Down 2 frets on the next higher string, and then back. Now between our B and G strings, we just shift the higher note up 1 fret, and you've got this shape that's adjacent frets, but it's on the next string higher. So I got 5th fret on the G string, 4th fret on the B string. And then when you go back up to the B and the E string, the high E, you go back, you take your shape back to that 2 fret down span. And there's a really very popular scale that starts with this exact interval. So it has its uses in scales as well. And we'll get into that soon enough. So that's your geometric sort of layout and shapes for the minor third. Again, on a single string and adjacent strings. And that's the case all over the fretboard. So, in as far as ear training goes, and really internalizing it through your hearing as in an audio fashion, really it's important to play this and really listen to the shift. You want to listen to it in context of both its harmonized manner and it's linear matter. The really getting that sound in your head, or being able to hum it, being able to hear it in your head without verbally humming it, being able to anticipate it. You know, if I play this note, try to imagine either singing internally or externally the next note. Da. So you can get that really in your head and internalized, so that you're playing the music and the guitar is not playing you. So that is my talk about the step and a half with the minor third. Next time I will get into the two whole steps, or the major third, and it will help explain a little bit more about where I'm going with this chord definition. So we'll see you next time. Bye.